Welcome to the ultimate guide on how to play Marvel Crisis Protocol. I'm your host, The Daily Crisis. Whether you're brand new to the game or looking to sharpen your skills, this video will cover everything you need to know, straight from the official rulebook. From assembling your squad to rolling dice in combat, I'll walk you through every rule, mechanic, and strategy to get you ready for battle. So grab your favorite Marvel characters and let's jump into Marvel Crisis Protocol. To play a game of Marvel Crisis Protocol, you'll need the following. The Earth's Mightiest Core set provides all essentials, including miniatures, cards, dice, and terrain. You can also expand your collection with character packs. Next, you'll need miniatures. Each player brings a squad of Marvel characters chosen from their 10-character roster. You'll also need character stat cards, team tactic cards, and crisis cards, which determine abilities and objectives. Additionally, you'll need dice. MCP uses special 8-sided dice to determine most game effects. They have the following sides. Critical. Criticals add dice during the attack, defense, and dodge rolls. They count as successes. Wilds. Wilds can trigger special abilities and are referenced within the special rules. They count as successes. Hits. Only when attacking, hits count as successes that don't trigger other effects. Blocks. Only when defending, blocks are counted as successes that don't trigger other effects. Failures. Failures are not counted as successes and can't be rerolled or modified. You'll also need measurement tools and range rulers. These determine movement and attack distances. The range rulers measure distance for attack, actions, and abilities. There are 4 range tools from ranges 2 to 5. Range 1 is determined by using the width of any range tool. Additionally, movement tools measure distances for advances, throws, and pushes. These are 3 movement tools: long, medium, and short. Additionally, you'll need some terrain. One of MCP's unique features is its interactive terrain. Characters can jump over, throw, and destroy this terrain within the game. You'll also need some tokens. Tokens are used all throughout MCP. These track power, damage, and objectives throughout the game. Firstly, power. Every character in MCP relies on a special resource called power to use the strongest abilities. You can track a character's power by placing tokens onto its stat card. When a character gains power, add power tokens to its stat card equal to the power gained. A character can have a maximum of 10 power. Any additional power gained above 10 is lost. When a character spends or loses power, remove power tokens from the stat card equal to the amount paid or lost. A character can't spend or lose more power than it has available on its stat card. Secondly, damage. Every character in MCP can take damage. You can track a character's damage by placing tokens to its stat card equal to the damage gained. When a character reaches damage equal to its stamina while on its healthy side, it becomes dazed and flips over its card to the injured side, indicated by the orange color. When a character reaches damage equal to its stamina on its dazed side, it is immediately KO'd and removed from the game. Lastly, objective tokens. Objective tokens are a key token in MCP. Characters may only interact with an objective if they are within range 1 of an objective and they pay 1 power. They come in 2 variations: extract and secure objective tokens. Extract tokens are placed throughout the battlefield. When a character interacts with an objective token, they take the token off the battlefield and place it onto their stat card. If they become dazed or KO'd, the opponent places that objective token within range 2 of the character that was holding it. Secure tokens are placed throughout the battlefield and may not be picked up. Instead, characters within range 1 of a secure objective token contest that token. The player with the most healthy characters contesting an objective token is securing that token. If there are no healthy characters contesting a secure objective token, then the player with the most injured characters contesting it secures it instead. Marvel Crisis Protocol has 3 essential card types that define gameplay. Firstly, character stat cards. For this example, we will be using Captain America, the First Avenger, from the Earth's Mightiest Core box set. There are plenty of components on this card, so let's start by looking at the top left corner. At the very top of this box, we have the character name and their alter ego. In our case, it is Captain America, the First Avenger, Steve Rogers. Right below that, we have the character's defenses. The first is physical. This represents a character's ability to withstand physical attacks, like punches and bullets. Next, energy. This represents a character's ability to withstand energy attacks, like repulsor blast or lightning bolts. Lastly, mystic. Mystic represents a character's ability to withstand mystic attacks, like mental illusions and mind games. Right below that, we have Stamina, which is the maximum amount of damage a character can take before flipping over to their day side. To the right of that, we have a Threat level, which is used to determine which characters can be used for a mission. Below that, we have Size and Speed. Size is the physical size of a character, used to determine line of sight and collision damage. Speed is the movement tool a character will use when making a move action. Looking to the right side of the card, we have attacks. This is a list of attacks available for a character. Captain America, the First Avenger, has 2 attacks, the first being his signature shield mounts. Each attack type has a type of physical, energy, or mystic. The attack type is represented by this icon. Here is the name of the attack. This identifies the attack and can be referenced by special rules, such as in our case, shield bounce. Then we have range. Range is the maximum distance the target can be away from the attacker. This number is between 1 and 5 and corresponds to the range tools we talked about earlier. Then there's strength. Strength is the number of dice rolled for the attack. Then power cost. Power cost is the amount of power that must be spent to perform an attack. Lastly, we have special rules. These are special rules related to our attack. In our case, Captain America has 2 special rules attached to his attack. The first is, after this attack is resolved, this character gains power equal to damage dealt. The next one has 2 symbols relating to dice. If the symbols listed before are in the attack roll, the attacking character may perform the special rules. In our example, if Captain America gets a wild hit in his attack roll, he may perform the bounce special rule. Next, we have superpowers. A superpower is defined by its icon. This denotes when it can be used. To the right is power cost. This indicates how much power the character must spend before using the superpower. Firstly, we have active superpowers, which can be used anytime during a character's activation. Next is reactive. This is a superpower that requires a triggered event to be used. A reactive superpower can be used only once for each triggered event. In our case, Captain America has perfect block. The required triggered event is when this character is targeted by an attack. If Captain America, the First Avenger, becomes dazed, this is when his damage reaches his stamina. He flips to his injured side, which is indicated by the orange color. As you can see, he gains an innate superpower. These do not have to be activated and never cost power. Also, when a character has a daze token, they do not benefit from their innate superpowers. Certain characters that stand above others for their leadership skills get leaderships, indicated by this icon. When a squad contains a character with a leadership ability, the squad uses that affiliation. The leadership then becomes active for the game. Suppose multiple characters in a squad have leadership abilities that may be used. The controlling player then chooses one of them to be used for the game. Another important card used in Marvel Crisis Protocol is Team Tactic cards. Team Tactic cards are unique team-ups or cinematic events that you can use in-game. Name. This is the name of the Team Tactic card. Squad affiliation. This indicates whether the card is unaffiliated and that it can be used by any squad or is affiliated with a specific squad. If it is affiliated, a squad must use that affiliation to use the card during the game. Type. This indicates when the card can be played. We also have rules. This indicates how to play the card and the effect of the card. To play a Team Tactic card, a player follows the instructions listed on one of their cards, selecting targets and paying power or other costs described. Once a Team Tactic card is played, it is discarded and cannot be used for the rest of the game. The last important card in Marvel Crisis Protocol is Crisis cards. Each card is made up of the following parts: the Crisis name, the Crisis type, which indicates whether being secure or extraction, the maximum threat, which indicates the maximum threat level a player's squad must contain, the setup. This indicates the type of objective tokens placed on the battlefield. Scoring. This explains the conditions necessary to score victory points. Rules. This explains how characters interact with any crisis objective tokens and any given special rules. Lastly, the map shows the placements of the crisis tokens. Now, before the battle can commence, the players bring a roster to the battlefield when they play MCP. Players' roster in MCP can have 10 characters. A player chooses from their collection of miniatures. When building a roster, there are no restrictions on pairing heroes and villains. While a roster may have any MCP character, it cannot contain multiple copies of a character with the same name and alter ego, such as two Steve Rogers. Additionally, each player selects 10 different team tactics cards from their roster. Like with characters, you cannot include multiple copies of a team tactic card with the same name. Lastly, you have to choose which crisis cards your roster might use. Each roster contains 3 secure crisis cards and 3 extract crisis cards. A player can't have multiple copies of the same crisis card with the same name on their roster. Now that you have your roster ready, we can move on to setting up the game. MCP is played on a 36 by 36 inch table, referred to as the battlefield. Each battlefield must have a mix of terrain features of various sizes and shapes. A battlefield must include at least 12 terrain features ranging from sizes 1 to 5. Both players should agree on a specific distribution of terrain features and their placement on the battlefield. Terrain features should not be placed within range 2 of any battlefield edge. After the battlefield is ready, players determine who will start the game by using the priority token. The player with the most crits, wilds, and hits takes the priority token from the beginning of the game. In case of a tie, the priority token goes to the player with the most crits. If necessary, continue the same process with wilds, then hits. If there is still a tie, the players just reroll all dice until the tie is broken. After, the player with the priority token chooses a crisis type, secure or extraction. They shuffle their crisis cards and draw 1. Players then reveal their drawn cards at the same time. The player without the priority token chooses which crisis card's maximum threat value will be used during the game. The player without the priority token chooses a table edge as their deployment zone. The player with the priority token takes the opposite table edge as their deployment zone. Both players then set up the mission following the instructions on the crisis card's maps. After the mission has been formed, players build their squads. Each player chooses a character from their roster with a combined threat value equal to or lower than the maximum threat value selected by the player without the priority token during mission setup. After building a squad, each player chooses which team tactics cards they will use for the mission. Players select 5 of the 10 team tactic cards. Lastly, players begin deploying. Starting with the player with priority, each player simultaneously places a character within 3 range of their deployment zone. Now that the battlefield is ready, we are ready to play the game. A game of MCP is played over 6 rounds. Each round is divided into 3 phases: power, activation, and cleanup. The power phase starts at the beginning of each round. Each character gains 1 power. Next is the activation phase. During the activation phase, players alternate taking turns. Before activating characters, you must resolve any effects at the start of the activation phase. Then, players alternate taking turns until no more characters can activate, beginning with the player with priority. Lastly is the cleanup phase. After all characters on the battlefield have an activated or dazed token, the round moves to the last phase, the cleanup phase. Players score victory points from the crisis cards marked on their mission tracker. Then, characters with the dazed token remove all damage tokens, special conditions, and their dazed token. If the player who activated the last character during the activation phase has the priority token, they pass that token to their opponent. Then, remove activated tokens from characters and move the round token to the next round on the mission tracker. Then begin a new round starting with the power phase. Each character may make 2 actions when it activates. The actions available to every character are move actions. The character advances using its speed. An attack action. The character may attack with any of its listed attacks. A shake. A shake removes 1 special condition from this character. Use an action superpower. Some superpowers require an action, such as Captain America's charge. Additionally, characters may interact with an objective token without using an activation. After a character has made all of its activations and used any superpowers it wishes, its activation ends. Place an activated token on its stat card. A character with an activated token cannot be chosen to activate again. Also, superpowers can make characters move. In advance, the controlling player takes the movement tool and places the curved end in contact with the character's base. Once the movement tool is in the desired position, the player puts the character's base in contact with any portion of the movement tool. Throws. Throwing a character involves positioning a movement tool with one end touching the thrown character. Do not pivot the movement tool, it must be straight. The throw stops if it overlaps or contacts another character's base or a terrain feature. If the character does not collide with anything, it moves the entire distance along the movement tool. A thrown character that collides with the terrain feature suffers 1 damage. The terrain feature is then destroyed and taken off the battlefield if it is smaller than the thrown character. A thrown character that collides with another character suffers 1 damage. The other character must make a dodge roll to avoid being damaged by the throw. Pushes. A character push follows all the rules for a character that is thrown, except that it doesn't cause collisions or take damage. Towards and away. When an effect causes a character to move towards or away from another character or an object, draw a straight line from the far side of the moving character's base, moving towards or away from, and passing through the center of both. Then, pivot a movement tool completely to form a 90-degree angle. Place the angle movement tool in contact with the moving character's base so that its pivot point is centered on the line passing through the center of the moving character and the center of the other character's sides. If moving towards something, the pivot point is centered on the line on the opposite side of the character or object. If the character is moving away from something, the pivot point is centered on the line between the moving character and the other character. The moving character can't cross a straight line drawn along either arm of the angled movement tool. Attacking. When a character uses an attack action, it chooses one of the listed attacks on its stat card to use, and an enemy character in line of sight to target with the attack. A character has line of sight to another character if a straight, unobstructed line can be drawn from any part of the character's base. The line can pass unobstructed through characters, but not through other terrain. When a character performs an attack action, it is resolved in these steps. We will be using Spectacular Spider-Man and Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist, as examples from the Earth's Mightiest Core Box. Choose an attack. The blue player decides to activate Spectacular Spider-Man. The blue player wants to attack Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist. Spectacular Spider-Man doesn't have enough power to use Web Head Wallop, so the blue player decides to use Swinging Strike. The blue player chooses Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist, measured within range 3 and line of sight. Pay power for the attack. Since Swinging Strike has power cost of 0, this step is skipped. Create the attack pool. The attacker creates an attack with dice equal to the strength of the attack. In this case, the Swinging Strike has a strength of 5. Create a defense pool. The defender notes that the type of attack is physical, and Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist, has a physical defense of 4. Roll the attacker dice. The attacker rolls all dice in the attack roll. In this initial attack roll, Spectacular Spider-Man rolls 1 crit, 2 hits, and 2 failures. Roll the defender dice. The defender rolls all its dice in the defense roll. This is the initial defense roll. Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist, rolls 2 hits, 1 wild, 1 block. Resolve criticals. Beginning with the attacker, each character rolls an additional dice for each critical in their initial roll. Criticals rolled in this step do not add further dice to its roll. In our case, Spectacular Spider-Man rolled 1 additional dice, resulting in a wild. Modify a dice. Beginning with the attacker, each character may use any superpower. In this case, there are no modifications. Calculate success and compare results. The attacker counts the successes on their dice, and the defender total is then subtracted from the attacker total. In this scenario, Spectacular Spider-Man rolled 4 successes, and Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist, rolled 2 successes. Spectacular Spider-Man's total is greater than Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist. Resolve any effects that occur before damage. Beginning with the attacker, they resolve any superpower before damage is dealt. In this scenario, there are no effects. Apply damage. If the attacker still has more successes, the defending character's controlling player adds damage to its stat card equal to the attacker's remaining successes. In this scenario, Doc Ock, Sinister Scientist, suffers 2 damage. The attack is then resolved, and then players resolve all effects that occur after the attack. In this scenario, Spectacular Spider-Man, since he dealt 2 damage, he gains 2 power. Spectacular Spider-Man also rolled a wild hit. This triggers the special rule Elusive. Spectacular Spider-Man then may advance small. Some characters have unique types of attacks that damage all characters, allied as well as enemies, known as beams. A beam attack has a B included before the number denoting range, such as Beam 4. To use the attack, pay the power cost and then make a series of attacks targeting each enemy character that is within the attacker's range and line of sight. These attacks are resolved in order of the attacking player's choice. Completely resolve each attack before moving on to the next. After all attacks are resolved, other allied characters in range of the beam suffer 1 damage but do not suffer other effects of the attack. When a character is damaged, place a number of damage tokens on its stat card equal to the damage it received. A character can never have damage tokens in excess of its current stamina. Any additional damage is ignored. Whenever a character suffers damage as a result of an enemy effect, that character gains power equal to damage suffered. When a character has damage tokens equal to its stamina stat, it has been dazed or KO'd. If this character's stat card is healthy side up, place a daze token on it. A character with a daze token cannot move or be moved at all. Dazed characters don't make attacks or play team tactic cards and never contribute to scoring. If a character's stat card is injured side up, the character has been KO'd and is out of the fight. All effects on the character expire, then it is removed from the battlefield. When a character gains a special condition, place a token representing the condition onto its stat card. Characters cannot have more than one of the same special condition tokens it already has. The special conditions and their effects on the characters goes as follows. Bleed. The character suffers 1 damage at the end of each of its activations. Hex. The character doesn't roll additional dice for criticals. Incinerate. The character rolls 1 fewer defense dice when making a defense roll. Judgment. The character does not gain power when suffering damage from enemy attacks. Poison. The character loses 1 power during the power phase. Root. The character must spend 1 power before using active or reactive superpowers. Shock. The character rolls 1 fewer attack dice when making an attack roll. Slow. The character may only use the short movement tool when advancing. Stagger. When the character activates, its first action must be a shake action. This shake action must remove the stagger special condition. Stun. If an effect would cause the character to gain more than 1 power, it gains 1 power instead. Game end and winning the game. The game ends under the following conditions. Victory points. A player immediately wins if they accumulate 16 VPs during the cleanup phase. Elimination. If a player has no remaining characters on the battlefield, their opponent wins by default. Final round. If neither condition is met by the end of the final round, the player with the most VPs is declared the winner. In case of a tie, continue to extra rounds. Advanced rules and additional mechanics. Throwing terrain features. Throwing is one of the most dynamic mechanics in MCP, allowing characters to throw enemies or terrain. Certain attacks or superpowers allow a character to pick up and throw terrain features at their enemies. The effectiveness of these throws is based on the size of the terrain feature. The throwing character must be within range and have line of sight to the terrain feature. The terrain feature follows a straight path in the chosen direction, determined by the movement template, short, medium, or long. When a character is hit by a thrown terrain feature or another colliding character, they must perform a dodge roll in an attempt to mitigate the damage. The character being hit by a thrown object suffers potential damage equal to the size of the thrown object plus 1. Then, the defender rolls a number of dice equal to their physical defense stat. After, each crit, block, or wild result reduces the damage taken by 1. After subtracting successful defense rolls, the remaining damage is applied to the character. Cover. Terrain features can provide cover to characters that hide behind them. There are a number of requirements that must all be met in order for a defending character to benefit from cover. The defender must be within range 1 of a terrain feature of the same size or larger. A straight line can be drawn from any portion of the attacker's base to any portion of the defender's base through that terrain feature, and the attacker is not within range 2 of the defender. During the modified defense step of an attack, a defending character benefiting from cover may change the result of 1 defense dice to a block. Transform. Some special rules allow a character to transform. When a character transforms, it is removed from the battlefield and replaced with another specified character or miniature. The new miniature is placed within range 1 of the original miniature before it was removed. If the transform replaces a character with a different stat card, any effects from abilities, conditions, or team tactic cards continue to apply unless stated otherwise. Grunts. Some characters have the ability to summon grunts, which are special, additional miniatures that do not count to a player's squad size. Grunts do not generate power in any way. Grunts activate at the same time as their parent character, immediately after the parent character finishes their activation. When a grunt is KO'd or removed from play, it cannot return unless the associated rule specifically allows it to be replaced. Grunts cannot hold, contest, or interact with objectives unless specifically stated otherwise. Some characters' abilities, attacks, or superpowers include keywords that represent common rules across multiple characters. Example of some of the most common keywords include flight. The character can ignore terrain and other characters when moving. Wall crawler. The character does not suffer movement penalties for climbing. Stealth. Characters must be within range 3 to target this character with attacks. A full list of keywords and their effects is typically included in the rulebook. Legacy stat cards. Some older stat cards don't look identical to the cards presented in this video. These cards function in the same way with the same symbols aligning to the same meaning in the game. Don't let the appearance deceive you. Beginner buying guide. If I were a beginner, I would start with the Earth's Mightiest core set to get a balanced selection of characters and mission objectives. I will make a video about what to buy after the Earth's Mightiest core set, depending on each affiliation. So be sure to leave a comment of which affiliation you would like to see getting a buying guide. After watching this video, I recommend checking out the Atomic Mass Games website linked in the description. I also recommend checking out some websites like Jarvis Protocol and Cerebro to get an idea of the vast amount of characters within the game. While you're at it, go check out and support some other creators here on YouTube. Support the community. It's very helpful to watch battle reports, and there are extensive amount of battle report channels that are amazing. If you found this guide helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment with any questions you have. Whether you're new to Marvel Crisis Protocol or a seasoned player, I hope you found this video helpful, and I look forward to deliver more content just like this in the future. This is the Daily Crisis, signing off.